the most hidden sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. The story begins with the infamous cities of Sodom and Gomorrah in the book of Genesis, during the time of Abraham. Their destruction was prompted by a divine revelation. Their sin had become so grave that it reached the heavens. As the Lord stated, the outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is exceedingly grave. Genesis 18:20. This verse underscores a powerful concept: the distinction between knowing something and witnessing it firsthand. God knows how much we honor and love Him, but He desires to see it reflected through our actions and service. Similarly, when God discussed justice with Abraham, it wasn't because He needed guidance. Instead, it was to help Abraham understand the profound nature of divine justice. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah's sins demanded a response, highlighting the importance of actions and their visible consequences. Abraham, a beacon of faith. Abraham, known for his unwavering faith and remarkable hospitality, stands in stark contrast to the residents of Sodom and Gomorrah. While these cities were consumed by selfishness and wickedness, Abraham exemplified hope and kindness. Before the birth of his promised son, Isaac, Abraham received news of God's intention to destroy the cities due to their extreme behavior. Ever the intercessor, Abraham pleaded with God to spare the righteous among the sinners. "Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" Abraham asked. Genesis 18:23. This heartfelt appeal reflected his deep concern for others, even those he did not know. His plea resonated with an ancient belief that the fate of a group was often tied to the actions of an individual. Abraham's intercession highlighted a profound principle: the power of compassion and the possibility of mercy, even in the face of judgment. The flourishing yet flawed cities. Sodom and Gomorrah thrived in material wealth, but their prosperity blinded them to their moral corruption. Their residents indulged in excess and immorality, oblivious to the impending disaster. Meanwhile, Abraham, a righteous and moral man, sought to save any good people who might reside in these cities. This contrast underscores the story's central themes: judgment, mercy, and the transformative power of intercession. Abraham's actions remind us of the difference one person can make in standing for righteousness, even when surrounded by pervasive wickedness. The arrival of divine messengers. As the narrative unfolds, two angels visit Sodom disguised as ordinary men. Lot, Abraham's nephew and a resident of Sodom, recognized their importance and insisted on offering them shelter. In those times, hospitality was a sacred duty, and Lot's actions starkly contrasted with the city's moral decay. However, the people of Sodom demonstrated their wickedness through their violent intentions toward Lot's guests. The men of the city surrounded Lot's house, demanding to harm his visitors, an act that violated the ancient customs of protecting strangers. Lot's desperate attempt to shield his guests, even offering his daughters in their place, showcased the dire situation. Divine intervention came swiftly, as the angels struck the aggressors with blindness and revealed the severity of the city's moral collapse. A deeper understanding of sin. The sins of Sodom and Gomorrah were multifaceted, involving more than just sexual immorality. Ezekiel 16 provides additional insight. "Behold, this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters had arrogance, abundant food, and careless ease, but she did not help the poor and needy." Ezekiel 16:49. Pride, apathy, and neglect of the vulnerable were equally grave offenses. This broader perspective reminds us that moral corruption takes many forms, from selfishness to the abandonment of societal responsibilities. The story warns against letting such sins take root, emphasizing the importance of living a life grounded in compassion and integrity. The urgency of escape. As the angels prepared to destroy the cities, they urged Lot to gather his family and flee immediately. However, Lot's hesitation and the disbelief of his sons-in-law added to the tension. The angel's warning was clear. Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Genesis 19:17. The family's escape was a race against time, and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah unfolded dramatically. The Lord rained down sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah, reducing them to ashes. Genesis 19:24-25. This act of divine judgment served as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked sin. A lasting warning. Lot's wife's fate, turning into a pillar of salt when she looked back, symbolized the danger of longing for a sinful past. This event, later referenced by Jesus in Luke 17:32, serves as a cautionary tale about obedience and moving forward. Meanwhile, Abraham witnessed the aftermath from a distance, a poignant moment that underscored the power of his intercessory prayer. Lot and his daughters survived. But the story's disturbing conclusion, involving the daughters' misguided actions in a cave, highlighted the lasting impact of a corrupt environment. Sodom and Gomorrah in the New Testament? In the New Testament, Sodom and Gomorrah symbolize divine judgment and moral decay. 2 Peter 2:6-8 describes their destruction as a warning for the ungodly, while Revelation uses Sodom to represent the ultimate fall of a corrupt world system. These references emphasize the timeless relevance of the story as a call to examine our values and actions. Reflections on modern society. Comparing the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah to today's world raises thought-provoking questions. Are we neglecting the needy, prioritizing personal achievements over humility, and straying from foundational moral values? The Bible's warning about the day of the Lord reminds us to live in holiness and godliness, preparing for a future of righteousness. 2 Peter 3:10-15. A personal call to action. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is not merely about fire and brimstone. It is a mirror reflecting the consequences of our actions as individuals and as a society. It challenges us to ask, are we contributing to moral decay, or are we striving to align our lives with values of compassion, justice, and humility? Let this ancient narrative inspire us to examine our lives and make choices that honor God and uplift humanity. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to overlook the simple acts of kindness and compassion that are so often the heart of a community. The story of Lot's hospitality in Sodom is a powerful reminder that even in a morally corrupt society, acts of compassion can shine brightly. Lot's decision to protect the strangers in his home, offering them a place of refuge, despite the evil around him, teaches us about the importance of showing kindness and care. In the hustle of modern life, we often forget the power of offering help, whether it's lending a listening ear or offering a place for someone to rest. As we reflect on the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, it's important to remember that the moral health of any society can be judged by how it treats the vulnerable and its guests. In contrast to the cruelty and selfishness of Sodom, Lot's acts of hospitality serve as a beacon of righteousness. His example shows that showing kindness and opening our hearts can have far-reaching effects, bringing people together and creating stronger communities. Just as Lot welcomed the angels, we are called to embrace the opportunity to do good, to make a difference in someone's life, no matter how small the act may seem. The story also serves as a powerful lesson about heeding divine guidance and being receptive to the warnings we receive. In the case of Lot, when the angels warned him of the city's destruction, he immediately understood the gravity of the situation and acted swiftly. This teaches us about the importance of listening to the subtle nudges of our conscience, heeding advice, and recognizing the lessons life offers. It's easy to get caught up in the rush of material pursuits and neglect our spiritual well-being, but the story urges us to remain spiritually aware and align ourselves with higher moral and ethical standards. The importance of living a life of spiritual awareness cannot be overstated. Lot's response to God's warning illustrates the significance of staying connected to our faith and being alert to the moral implications of our actions. Today, in a world often clouded by distractions, it is crucial to find time to reflect on our actions, seek guidance, and make decisions that honor the values of integrity, compassion, and justice. Our everyday choices, from how we treat others to how we approach our responsibilities, can either uplift or harm our communities. By consciously choosing to act with kindness, honesty, and empathy, we contribute to the greater good. Furthermore, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah calls us to examine our hearts and our choices. Hidden sins, those small, secret wrongs we may overlook, have the potential to influence our lives in ways we don't always see. Just as the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah fell due to a widespread neglect of morality, we too must confront the subtle ways in which we might be straying from the path of righteousness. Recognizing and confronting these hidden habits can be difficult, but it is essential for spiritual growth and for living a life that aligns with divine will. In the New Testament, the lessons of Sodom and Gomorrah are reiterated as a warning to those who ignore moral and spiritual guidance. But there's also a call to action, to live a life that embodies the teachings of compassion, integrity, and justice. Abraham's intercession for the cities reminds us of the power of standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult, and the role we all play in creating a more just and compassionate society. As we navigate our own lives, let us take these lessons to heart, recognizing that our personal decisions have the power to shape the world around us. By staying spiritually grounded, acting with integrity, and showing kindness to those around us, we can make a significant difference in our communities. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah reminds us that our actions matter, not just for our own well-being, but for the greater good of society. In conclusion, we are called to embrace the lessons from the past, remain spiritually aware, and make choices that lead us toward a more compassionate, just, and moral world. Through acts of kindness, generosity, and spiritual alertness, we can live in a way that honors God's guidance and brings light to a world that often seems lost in darkness.